Hello, everyone, and welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are on the road down in the great state of Florida, my second home and second hub of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We appreciate you being here with us, and I am honored and privileged, as always, to have Mr. Brian Newberry here with me on Wake Up Call, the head coach of the Navy Midshipmen football program inside of the American Conference. Coach, how are you?
Doing great, man. Glad to be
And
on the
happy,
call.
Yeah, happy to have you here and happy to be able to do this. And we're coming to you right after the draft. So I'd love to get your thoughts on the fact that we had Heidenreich and Robinson both drafted in the 2026 NFL draft and just what that moment means to the midshipmen and what it means to military academies in general.
Yeah, well, just super proud of those two guys. Couldn't think of two guys that are more deserving for that to happen to, and they're very well deserved. I think both those guys are steals, especially going in the seventh round. And just really excited for them. They're both going to minicamp at the end of this week, and the Bengals and the Steelers are getting two really really good ones. I mean, great football players, but great human beings, great leaders. And they're going to be tremendous assets for both of those organizations.
Yeah, and when you say with the Bengals getting Landon Robinson, what is it about him, not just as a football player, but as a human being, to go a little bit deeper into his story and, what the Bengals are truly receiving and having Landon on their team?
Yeah, they're getting a young man that's self-made. I mean, talk about a guy that was under-recruited. I think maybe he was going to Towson, when we got on him late in the process and recruiting and offered him. And we weren't sure what he was. He was playing linebacker in high school, believe it or not. Um, and I think, we kind of fell in love with his personality when he was here. Didn't know where he was going to play, but it felt like we needed him in our program and he would help us somewhere. And certainly he did that. But, he asked the guy to put on some weight. I think he was 240, when he got here. I think he played at 290 this year. And so did everything he could to put on that weight and put himself in a position to play that position, up front on the D line as well as he could. But tremendous work ethic, tremendous passion, always a smile on his face. He's one of those guys that everybody on campus knows who he is and everybody loves him. I mean, a great midshipman, as well as just being a great football player and a great teammate, captain for us, one of the better leaders that I've been around, and just very driven, tough, smart, loves football, really passionate about it. And, I think the sky's the future for him and Eli both. And what these teams I think don't fully understand what they're getting as a very unfinished product. When you consider all the things that these young men have to do here during their time, we don't get as much time with them as people do at other places. They don't get developed quite the same. They're not in the training room 3 or 4 times a day. They're not in the office half the day, watching film and watching tape. They don't get as much sleep as other guys do. And so you're getting a product that has a really, really high ceiling. When it's just football for those guys, I think they're really going to excel. And you saw the same thing with Ray Lane a year ago in the season that he had. When you get those guys and it's just full-time football, and you're getting a really unfinished product with a really high ceiling.
Yeah, and I had going into this past season, I had the opportunity to sit in between Landon Robinson and Blake Horvath and have a conversation with them down in Charlotte. What can you say about just the leadership that you had this past season? I mean, we've seen a lot of success recently with the Navy midshipmen. We've seen consistency with you. We've seen getting back to bowls, putting yourself in position to have double digit wins on the season. Obviously, the Army Navy game is second to none. So, within these last few years, just what you could say about the leadership and how these student athletes and these midshipmen that are serving far greater than football and on the field, just what they've done to elevate the program in your time there.
Yeah, well, we've been really fortunate, the last 2 years, Dan, to have tremendous leadership on our team, and those guys deserve most of the credit for the success we've had. Obviously, the last 2 years, and when you have your captains aren't always necessarily your best players, but when you do have two guys that were overwhelmingly voted for captain that are two of your best players, it carries a little extra weight. And truthfully, we probably had 7 or 8 guys in the senior class that could have been captains for us. And that's how strong the leadership was. And um, people talk about it all the time, right? They're coach-led teams versus player-led teams, and the coach-led teams can be good, but the player-led teams are the ones that are special. They're the teams that find ways to win in tight games, which is really who we were this year. And there's different kinds of leadership. You got a guy like Blake Horvath, um, who truly had an uncanny way of just playing the next play and not letting the previous play, whether it was good or bad, affect him in any way. Wasn't attached to the outcome, didn't worry about the scoreboard, just went out and played. And that was contagious with our football team, and just the demeanor of this team, finding ways to win, expecting to win, never panicking. That's the leadership that really both of those guys brought, which is a special, different kind of leadership. This place is a leadership laboratory here at the academy, and so some of this stuff is built in, and we get to build on that, in our program. And it's great to see the development over the years of these guys. And start out as maybe being on the leadership council, maybe you're position captain. By the time you're a senior, maybe you are one of the captains. But it's built into this place, and we try to build onto that. And um, it's been strong, and I expect it to continue to be that way.
And we talked a little bit about Eli Heidenreich, but I don't know if I've ever seen fan support, never for a seventh round pick like that, but I don't know if I've seen the type of response. It almost looked like Heidenreich was having a concert in Pittsburgh,
Yeah,
standing in the middle of everybody on the podium. It was like a Michael Jackson moment, and he's spinning the terrible towel. What the Steelers got with Eli Heidenreich, and as they say, he's marked down as a running back, but we know that he's been able to catch passes and made some history in doing that at Navy, and being a guy who's versatile and is a weapon on the offense as a skill player. Just kind of twofold, what that moment was like, seeing how everybody responded to Heidenreich, including the commentators and the broadcasters that were there, and then what the Steelers are getting in a very versatile player for your offense.
yeah. But my son is 7 years old. He was all about the draft this year. First time watching it, he's excited about. Loves Eli, loves Landon. Was really curious to see, where they'd end up. So we watched it as a family, and I don't know if I've seen a more emotional, impactful pick in a draft, and just the whole process of him getting selected and the phone call, walking down the tunnel, putting his hat on, the emotions. I mean, it was a special deal, and it was an emotional time, a moment for me and my wife and our kids. But special to see that, knowing where he grew up, being a Steelers fan all of his life, his parents Steelers fans, and just seeing where he's come from and how he's developed over the years, and the hard work, and the sacrifice, and all those things pay off in that moment in such a really spectacular way, was tremendous. And they're getting a special player. I mean, he's going to be a utility knife, for them, and really he can do so many things extremely well. A lot of things that Eli has are qualities you can't coach. He's just a special player, and I think he's going to do really, really well, in the league, Dan.
And, outside of those two gentlemen that we mentioned, Landon and Eli, there's other rookie minicamp invites just to share, what else as we expand out, some other opportunities that the Navy midshipmen have, and just what you want to say about some of those guys that are having the opportunity to showcase themselves in camp and
Yeah,
hopefully earn a spot as well.
yeah. Well, Alex Tecza, our running back, got an invite to the Steelers minicamp as well. Both those guys, Pittsburgh guys, and I couldn't be more excited for them. Alex is really, really talented player. I think was a little underrated. Had a really good pro day, in front of 22 different teams. They came to watch him, so he generated quite a bit of interest, and he's had a phenomenal career. So excited for him and that opportunity, to get back there and show them what he can do. So really, those three guys right now are the ones that have the opportunities in front of them, and at least to my knowledge, at this point. So I was excited for all three of them.
And to kind of just share the information with people that don't know, obviously when you're at a military academy, you have to give time and service, but with the opportunity or like rule adjustment or change exactly kind of just what that is and how they can defer their time so that they can seek their NFL goals as well.
Yeah. So basically, these guys will go into the reserves. They'll have some military responsibilities attached during their time in the NFL. Every 2 years being in the reserve will count for a year of active duty service for those guys. So depending on how long they stay in the league and what their career looks like, will dictate what the service requirement piece looks like when they're done. But I know all three of those guys are excited to serve, will be proud to serve, and are looking forward to that obligation.
What does it mean to you as a coach at the, US Naval Academy that we're even talking about this, that we have student athletes that now have professional opportunities and regarded with respect from the NFL, that they can defer their service to seek an NFL career and then continue to serve in the Naval Academy? I mean, the fact that we have this talent, you and I've talked about this for years, but the kind of disrespect from the outside or overlooking of the military academies. And now here we are sitting speaking about three guys that very well could make an NFL roster and also serve in the US Naval Academy. Just what that means to have a positive problem, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's great for everybody. I think there's probably I don't know what the armed forces spend on advertising. But they're getting their money's worth with these guys going in the NFL. There are 5 million people that watched that draft and watched Eli Heidenreich get drafted. And so I think it's awesome for all the branches of the armed forces to have ambassadors like Eli Heidenreich and Landon Robinson and Ray Lane in the NFL. There's no better recruitment tool than those guys. And knowing those guys and how well they represent themselves and what great ambassadors they're going to be, and knowing their heart and their desire to serve. I mean, it's incredible, and I think it's important for young men. We're playing Division I FBS football, and these guys grow up in footballs. They love the game. A lot of these guys have aspirations to play in the NFL, and we want them to have that opportunity. And so for recruits to come here and see that there is a path, if they're good enough, they'll have that opportunity is really important. And in the past, that hurt us in recruiting when that pathway wasn't there. And so we're going to want to stay competitive. We want to compete at a really, really high level, right? Then we've got to be able to do that. And it's great for the military. It's great for us. It's great for the academy. So I'm excited about what we're allowing them to do right now. And there's more changes coming right now. There's a limitation on how many students from the academies can go into the pros. And I'd like to take the cap off of that.
And do you feel like there's a real pathway for something like that right now?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think there's traction for that. The number that we have right now is better than what it used to be, but it's still a little bit arbitrary, and it's rare that we're going to have 5 midshipmen in a given year that have professional opportunities. But if there's a year where there's 6, right? How do you tell one person no and approve 5 others, and how do you make that decision? So I don't think there should be a cap on it. And I don't, the numbers are never going to be really, really high. So let's take the cap off of it, and if they're good enough, let's let them play and defer their service.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Brian Newberry here with me, the head football coach of the Navy Midshipmen, and someone who I consider more than anything else a great friend. You and I, Brian, have talked about the fact that my grandfather on my mom's side served in the U.S. Naval Academy, served in World War II. My mom, as I'm down here in Florida, celebrating a Mother's Day week, so to speak, she's within an earshot. So I'd love for you to just speak on, what it means to, you know, bump into people and hear those stories of, oh, my grandfather served, or oh, my grandmother, or my mom, my dad, whatever it may be. When you hear stories of people in the US Naval Academy that come up to you and just, say thank you for what you're doing, thank you for what you're representing. I know that the Navy hat you gave me with the skull and crossbones on it, I wear proudly everywhere, and people will stop me and go, thank you for your service. And I'm like, no, thank my grandfather for his service, because that's who I'm wearing it for. So, with my mom within an earshot, for the first time ever that you and I've gotten to speak about this, just what it means to you when people come up to you. Because I had to tell you about my grandfather because
Yeah.
I couldn't be more proud. And his World War II hat, his midshipman hat is right there in my studio, and I stare at it every single broadcast.
Yeah. Well, you know this, Dan. I probably told you this before. I feel a great responsibility, and it's obviously a tremendous privilege to be the head coach here and to coach young men that are going to go out and serve and be officers in the Navy and the Marine Corps and go on to do great things and protect our freedoms. And my entire goal and mission here is to shine as bright of a spotlight as I can on the academy and this institution because I believe in this place. I believe in the mission, and in a way, this is me serving those who are going to serve and really have served. We want to make everybody proud by the way that we do things, and the one thing you can do that by winning some games and winning the right way and bring a tremendous sense of pride to this community, and it's kind of a way of me giving back, I guess, in a way. And so, yeah, I think to make those people watching us that are serving currently or that have served proud of what they're seeing and the way these young men carry themselves and conduct themselves and the way they compete on the field is extremely important to me because I understand what it is that we represent and how important it is to so many people.
Well, and looking at the importance of it, like you said, shining a spotlight as big as you can. The president, Donald Trump, signed an executive order to protect the Army Navy game, the sanctity of when that game is played, and to not have things around it, and to really have it be in the spotlight and stay in the spotlight, be on the main stage, so to speak. What can you say about the executive order and your thoughts on the protection of the Army Navy game?
I think it's critical and super grateful for the president to actually sign that executive order when we were there at the White House celebrating the Commander in Chief trophy. So it's pretty cool to get to see that. But the game is different. The Army Navy game has a soul. It's a celebration every year. Um, it's an opportunity for us to shine light on our armed forces in a really positive way. So I think it's critical that we protect the integrity and the time of that game to be able to celebrate not just the football game itself, but our men and women that serve.
And you said you were at the White House celebrating the Commander in Chief. And so to be there, just bring me into paint the picture, walk me through it, just what it's like to be in the White House, what the experience was, what you got to do, because that is an invitation that I would find very hard for anybody to pass up. So I'd love to know about your
Yeah,
experience.
tremendous experience, and we've gotten to go 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
And the last year was my first time. Obviously, didn't know what to expect, but um, got a little bit of a tour of the White House. The president came out and talked to us before the presentation. Was very generous with his time, very friendly with our players. Had the presentation, a lot of people there. Pretty neat ceremony that we had. Obviously, he signed the executive order. We got to present him with a couple of gifts, and afterwards, he had us into the Oval Office. So he brought in 10, 12 guys at a time to take pictures there at the Oval Office desk with him, presented guys with a beautiful coin. And just they took their time and they treated us very well and super hospitable and was just really impressed with the president and the staff and just how generous they were with their time. And not everybody gets to go into the Oval Office, and that was pretty neat experience. And regardless of what your politics are or anything like that, it was a great day and a great experience for our players.
Being a kid from Oklahoma and then standing in the Oval Office, what was that like for you, Brian?
Yeah, not my wildest dreams, man. Not my wildest dreams. Pretty surreal, the whole experience. The second year you kind of know what to expect a little bit, but it still kind of takes your breath away. It's a really proud moment to be a part of that, and that's the highest honor that we have here in our program is to win that trophy and to be able to celebrate that in the White House. And so I was excited to get to do that and look forward to going back again.
I was going to say you keep winning the commander in chief, then there's an opportunity for maybe if the president sees you enough, he gives you your own chair, puts your name on something, gives you a plaque.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll see your
yeah.
face in there. That he takes
Well,
some pictures down. Maybe he puts your picture up.
yeah. Well, last year I told him we were going to get to know each other pretty well because we're going to be back several times in his tenure. So I tend to keep that promise.
That before I let you go, Brian, I mean, finishing up camp, which is crazy to think that, we're done with spring camp. We're heading into the summer. We're going to have fall camp coming up before we know it. What did you see? We talk about some of these guys finishing up their time and the leadership you have and the seniors and your captains. And like you said, there's a bunch of guys that could have been captains as well. As you've seen some of those veterans move on, where has the leadership come from? Are there any names or specific things that you can share coming out of spring ball that we should know about this year's team going into 26-27?
Well, the great thing about having leadership like we did is that leadership leaves a legacy, and the younger guys in the program see how to do things the right way. And so and that's the goal for all these senior classes that come through here. They want to represent the players that came before them the right way, this brotherhood that's really special, and they want to leave a legacy in how we do things. This is my coming up in my fourth season, and our culture's in a really, really good place. So we have great leadership. It tends to lead to more great leadership. And this class is different, certainly, but the leadership is there. We're still kind of early on in that process. I mean, it takes an off season, it takes a summer, it takes getting out there to Leatherneck with the senior class and being in the woods for 10 days and doing hard things together. So some of it's organic, but obviously we named our captains after spring ball, and Braxton Woodson, who's a name I know you're real familiar with, super talented quarterback that we're expecting big things from. And then Giuseppe Sessi has started the safety the last 2 years for us, and both great young men that got the majority of the votes. So I'm excited about that. We named positional captains as well, and I feel good about the leadership. We're going to continue to develop it and put them in positions to lead. And like I said, the goal is by the time we start the season, right, to be a team that's player led, player accountable, and I think we're heading in the right direction there. But excited and optimistic about this team and what I've seen up to this point. It's going to be a team that plays with an edge, right? And we're going to be improved in a lot of areas. Obviously, we have to replace a lot of production, Dan, but
Yeah.
we got some good pieces, and I think in a lot of ways, we're going to complement each other offensively and defense maybe better than we have the last couple of years.
And you mentioned Woodson and Sessi being the overall captains. What is it about them specifically that has just really spoken to you and made you feel like, hey, if everything runs through these guys first in a player-led team, then we're in a good position?
Yeah, the thing I like about those two guys in particular is they're not loud, extremely vocal leaders. They're guys that have done things the right way the entire time they've been here. Guys that have handled adversity. Um, guys that are doing all the right things on the yard. Outstanding midshipmen. And I think partially, they guys voted for them because of the way they represent our program. On and off of the field. But I love their demeanor. They're both calm, cool, collected guys, and I think there's a lot of different ways to lead, right, Dan? But these guys have a special way about them. They didn't politic to be captains. They're just guys that put their heads down. They go to work and they do the right things, and they're a great example to their teammate and their phenomenal teammates. And so, I can be more excited about those two guys being chosen.
Well, as you know, we play rapid fire here in conclusion, and coaches never get to ask the questions, but on this show they do here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. So, Coach, we'll go back and forth for a couple. What's your first question for me?
Well, I want to know what you're doing for your mom for Mother's Day.
So, I already I started a partnership with Gray's Craze and in Clay, New York, but they're all over. And it's the first one in the state of New York. So I actually made my mom a Mother's Day kind of smorgasbord charcuterie board and presented it to her. And so we brought it on the plane. So
Yeah,
that's what we started with. And then there's some Italian food at a place called Maggiano's. I'm going to take her to Universal Studios Epic Universe, the 5 parks in one. And I might have some other tricks up my sleeve I can't talk about. Disney's
sure.
down here, and my mom likes some things with Disney, and she was always great and continues to be great about, fanning my kid's spirit. So I'll probably do something that brings us back to me being a little kid and her being there for me and then getting to flip the script on her.
There you go. Sounds good.
My question to you, Brian, if you okay, so I'm gonna ask you this. I've never asked this question before, but I'm wondering here. So if you were to have a plane, if you were to pay a plane to go in the air and to write with the smoke anything out of the back of the plane, what would you write in the sky and why?
Oh, shoot. What a question that is. How do you even think of something like that,
It
man?
just came to me in the moment.
I mean, give me something simple. You know, gratitude.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just spoke at the Under Armour deal yesterday, and they were asking me,
Thank you.
one non-negotiable quality that I would have in my employees, and I said gratitude. I think just and I talked about the quote, in my office that gratitude wakes us up to the goodness and the beauty in life, but we have to choose it. And I think that's the key is you have to choose it because it's not human nature to have it all the time. It's easy to have it when things are going well, right? And when good things happen to you. But to constantly be in a state of mind of just gratefulness for what we have, I think changes the whole dynamic, of the way you live. And if you change the way you look at things and the things you look at start to change, I think that's very true. And if you're a person that has a tremendous amount of gratitude, right, that permeates and it affects the people around you, just your energy and your vibe. And so I think that that's something that we're missing a lot of. But to choose that every day, I think can really be life changing.
Yeah, to even be grateful in the tough times. I've experienced that recently.
Yeah.
What's your last question for me, Brian?
So you're a traveling man, right? I know
Yeah.
you like to go places and do things and see things. What you got something cooked up for this summer?
Oh, so that's a good question. I would like to try and get back out to San Diego to see my buddy. So I'd like to go out there. My Anaheim Ducks keep quacking in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So if they can keep doing that for me, that would be good too because San Diego and Anaheim are pretty close to each other. But yeah, I mean maybe California. My mom and I are planning to go for me to go to Spain for the first time and her as well. And I'm going to try and sneak her over to Italy because my dad saw it, as you know, but she hasn't. So I'd
Yeah,
like to get overseas. I keep showing my parents movies about Italy, Solo Mio with Kevin James. I'm trying to plant the seeds.
yeah,
So doing the best I can right now.
good.
My
Well,
my last question for you, Brian. Hmm. In the time that you and I have known each other, what is your favorite moment that we've gotten to have together?
uh, it's a good question. I think sitting down and whether you and I get on a call before the Army Navy game, knowing how important that is to you, um, and maybe right before the season gets started, the excitement of that, and I generally feel like you're a Navy fan and you appreciate this team and this program and what we do, and that you're um, invested, a little bit more maybe than other people. So I enjoy those conversations because I know it's important to you as well.
Well, it's important to me to find good people, and God has led me to many of them, you being one of them, and to appreciate those relationships, those bonds, and to really be purposeful and intentional about your time. I was something that keeps me going when I don't know how to keep going is lead in with a pure heart and good intentions. You don't have to feel bad about what you're doing. So
No doubt
that's
about that.
how that's how I try to lead. Now I want to do this because I don't know any other way to end it, but it would be my honor, my privilege to be able to have mom say hello as I'm traveling with her. So is that okay, Brian?
Absolutely.
All right. So there's
Hey,
my
Coach.
Hey, how
Hey,
are
Coach.
you?
I love what you do. I love what you do. I'll be
Thank you
watching
so
the game.
much. Well,
I'll be
you're
watching the games.
awesome. Well, your son does a great job. I always enjoy
Thank
our
you, sir.
chats. So
I appreciate that.
you've raised a good one. So you
I
deserve a
appreciate
special
that.
Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. To your
You're
wife
welcome.
also. I hope she has a good one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to see
so
you.
with that
Too.
coming from mom, my mom Debbie, and of course for the head coach of the Navy Midshipmen, a program that has been near and dear to my heart for many, many years, and something that makes my grandpa proud from heaven. I know that for a fact. And of course, my great uncle Carmen as well. May he rest in peace up in heaven. So for Brian Newberry, myself, Dan Tortora, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, this has been a special broadcast centering on the midshipmen, the Navy, and appreciating our military that helps to give us the opportunity to be able to do what I'm doing right now, which is live my dreams. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Dan.